down there lately. Yeah.
Yes, I was figuring that. And that totally caught me off. Campaign season's the best diet.
You all do not forget to push on and off for the bright green.
Mine doesn't work.
It's
like me, always on.
That needs to be fixed. I'll get them down here. That's not unintentional.
Sure. It's all right. I always, if a mic's around, I always assume it's hot.
Well, it's 9 o'clock. I'll wait here for a second for Dwayne.
Have an emergency with the bus or something.
Yeah. No, we were just waiting on you, brother.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Logical. We can start dig going on, and a field trip of kids going to see it.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday, the 13th, Scott County Fiscal Court business meeting. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and I'd like to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Alvin, would you lead us today?
Yes, I will. First pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Ms. Hamilton, would you do me the favor of calling the roll?
Mr. Hostetler?
Present.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Corman?
Here.
Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Livingston?
Here.
Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Here. Thank you. Number 4 on our agenda is consideration of the minutes from our prior meeting. Those minutes were shared. Are any questions related to those
Motion
minutes?
approved.
Motion from Mr. Rick Hostetler. Second from Mr. Alvin Lyons. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. There are no transfers, so we'll skip to 6. Bills and hand checks as presented in your packet. Any questions or comments? Motion from Kelly Corman. Second from Chad Wallace. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let the record reflect that the Scott County Clerk submitted fees in the amount of $206,453.66. Let the record reflect that sheriff's fees in the amount of $42,653.17 were submitted. That leads us to number 9, coordinator position proposal. Would be an interlocal proposal, and that position would be jointly funded by the city and the county. That position would be the Office of Affordable Housing and Homeless Intervention. It would engage affordable housing developers, seek federal and state grant funding to improve affordable housing infrastructure, coordinate homeless system services, facilitate funding and homeless system services, lead systems design and function in a direction to reach the ultimate goal of ending homelessness, educate citizens and stakeholders on homelessness and solutions, advocate for homeless individuals in Scott County's homeless system. I've shared the draft of the proposal. The consideration is for $69,500. What's been shared with me is the city will fund this out of ARPA funds for the next 2 years, and then at that point we would evaluate the impact of the office. I shared yesterday via email a lengthy list of additional information about funding that this position could pursue on behalf of our community. I support this proposal based on the potential funding that we could compete for and the potential of the position to coordinate collaboration with our nonprofits to provide services to those in need of housing and other services as well in our community. That long list, I'm not going to take time to read that long list, but it is very extensive. That my whole thought process is that the potential for funding that this position could bring is why I would support it. I would open the floor for question or comment at this moment.
I'd like to ask a question. I'm just curious if we could do a contractual agreement with this person and advertise it as it's funded by ARPA, it's a 2-year position, at the end of the 2 years, contract's over. And just, I don't know if it's possible, but just a thought or something. Because I don't know, in my mind, if I'm ready to want a permanent position from now on for this job, maybe so, but I don't know if we could look at a contract.
I wouldn't say no. That's something to consider. David.
The judge and I were talking yesterday, well, we talked several times this week about this, and I wasn't comfortable with it until there was an agreement on the 2-year position. And then also in the interlocal, is there an out for future courts if they decide to?
I believe this court, if at the end of 2 years, the court deemed it not effective and not impactful for our community, that we would write a letter and say that we intend to not continue this interlocal.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, Kelly, about the concern of creating a permanent position, but then on the flip side of that, I worry about what the quality of candidates we could get in a temporary position.
And I agree with that, but I also know, like in the school world, money will come available and somebody may take a job and know it's not permanent, right? Like, hey, we've got special money for this position. I think in 2 years, we'd have a really good idea and hopefully a good handle on what they're trying to achieve.
Well, the city has done exactly this before with firefighters. When they brought in additional firefighters years ago, when they had additional funding, and then when that funding went away, I think they just didn't fill positions. They didn't terminate anyone, but they just didn't fill positions. So it's something that they've done before, and I do have concerns about it, and I'll still have concerns about it, but I also have concerns about the population that has the need. And I would like, this is something that I've said all the years, is I would like to know when we are giving dollars to these nonprofits, what exactly is going on? And then if we have a centralized person that is working with them that can, prepare an annual report for us of what's been happening, or a quarterly, or however we want to see it, that'll be that person that could be able to do that to help us understand whether we're fulfilling the need in helping those nonprofits, or whether they need additional help or services, or, that may not be money. It might just be some type of service from us. That's just my thoughts.
The one thing that I would add as well, as a former educator, principal, teacher, many times I've worked with our Family Resource Center coordinators. They are on the front lines and have relationships with families. And many times families are struggling, and those relationships, it's the reality that they know what's going on. They have conversations. People come to them for help. And this would be a coordinator that that person could help and be another resource for those folks as well. I'll just be honest and transparent with you. On more than one occasion, I've had to help students find a place to stay overnight. And sometimes we've found places here in town, but on several occasions, I've had to coordinate with the Catholic Action Center in Lexington. And we are at the size and we're at the point that we need someone coordinating these type of efforts. And in 2 years, if the metrics don't result back out, then I'll be the first to stand up and say, it's my intent to say that this is not working and we need to do something else. That's it, you know, that's my intent. Alvin?
Yes. It's a whole lot easier to create a position in government than it is to get rid of one. And because we're flush with cash right now, it's tempting to add these, but it is another full-time, at least one full-time position, which will probably grow. That's the way government tends to work. So I just can't support adding another position, another bureaucracy, especially right now, because, like I say, we're flush with cash right now. It looks easy, but ARPA fund's not coming back. So I have a real problem supporting adding that position. I like Kelly's idea, if that was possible. I don't know if it is or not. That would be great if we could do something like that. And then after 2 years, you get a real review, because it's, like I said, it's easier to add a position than it is to get rid of it. If we add that full-time position, it's not going away. I mean, let's face it, it's here. So.
How would it not go away? All it would take is a vote from the court to not fund that position.
And
I mean, we do it all the time in schools. You know,
and
you just, you know, you remove the position. You
But
don't
if you're
fund
not
the
under
position.
contract, you're essentially terminating someone, correct? Wouldn't that be a firing
No,
situation?
You're not firing anybody. The position no longer exists.
like, if we don't put it in the budget, then the position doesn't exist.
terminates.
And here's the reality, you all. As principal, I cannot tell you how many times I had to look somebody in the eye and say, we don't have the money for your position. And the funding is not there. I've done it too many times, and it's not a fun thing. But my job is to look holistically at the budget. My job is then to assess the effectiveness and communicate to the court. And I'm telling you right now that I will do that and
Wouldn't
make
be the
that.
same way with, you know, for the fire department, for example, if we reduce the budget that goes to the fire department, then he's got to make decisions on how many staff he has, right? I mean, it's the same deal. I mean, nobody's guaranteed anything.
And none of us have a crystal ball. None of us have, you know, I want to look at this positively. We are trying to make accommodations and make a position that will improve our community for people that are struggling. And I think this is a positive thing to try to swing the bat for people that, for whatever reason, maybe it's their fault, maybe it's not. And I can tell you right now that a lot of young people, for no matter, you know, none of their responsibility, they are living in hotels, they're going from couch to couch, and I'm not making that up. That is real. So,
Would a potential compromise between a contract and full-on employee be maybe put a sunset clause that sets up that would cause the council and the court to vote to extend it out?
we do a yearly budget. If it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget. That's the sunset clause.
I agree. I agree with that.
But we're not going to get a quality person if we don't offer benefits and that type of stuff.
I mean, that person obviously will know coming in that, hey, you've got 2 years to make sure that you're doing an impactful enough job that, you know, that all of us see it.
I think that's how you'd have to advertise. I think you'd say this is a 2-year job.
Well,
And then we can reevaluate.
Say that.
and I will propose that in the announcement that this is a pilot, 2-year pilot, and that the hope is that it gets extended, but the metrics, and then I will propose that in the process of the hiring process, that Jeff be involved in help setting the median for pay, and Jeff and maybe a couple of you all or even myself be on the interview committee and be a part of that.
And I guess the city would be.
Well, the city would be as well, our partners there. That would be.
Problem's not going away. The problem's not, I mean, homelessness is not going to go away. It's going to get worse, actually.
Anyone down here, Rick? No, I'll come back to you
I
too.
won't rehash what's been said. I'm kind of agreeing with all of it. I'm really following really close to Alvin, but this discussion is helping me. One of the things I got a question on is the housing authority. Will they I mean, that's already established, right?
That's there,
But that, is that federal government?
it's federal.
I'm not positive.
And-
State too, isn't there?
Huh?
There's some state too, isn't there?
No, it's,
all federal.
yeah.
I mean, aren't they,
It's HUD.
aren't they already in that arena?
Yeah, the state's kind of the administrator, but it's all federal dollars.
They are in that arena, yes.
I believe.
But they only have so many units. And that, I'm not an expert in that field, but they only have so many units. And yes, they help people that fall below certain income parameters, yes.
But they don't have the scenario to help in emergency situations.
Right.
They don't have that scenario.
They don't have,
They
okay.
don't. No, they're more of a long-term.
And I shared the email from Candace Whitehouse. Candace came by. It was a day of giving or something like that, and they were doing just a little community outreach. And she said, I watched, there's people watching right now. There's a lot of people that watch
By the
these
way,
YouTubes.
that's a good thing.
And it's a good thing.
Yep.
I'm glad we do this. But she watched our meeting, and she saw the discussion about this potential position. And she wanted to encourage the court to consider it because they want to partner with this position because there's something called rapid rehousing, and it's listed here. And we could apply for approximately $150,000. That rapid rehousing would go to pay and help for rent for people that are in this category of homelessness or struggling or about to be evicted because of whatever. She volunteered to have Elizabeth's Village do the case management side for the women, but on the men's side, they couldn't do that because they're a women's organization. This side would coordinate, like this coordinator would coordinate the case management side for the men. So that's just an example of a stream of revenue and then collaboration between some of our nonprofits and this coordinator. There was someone else that had a hand up down here, maybe? Tim?
Yeah, I wanted to say that probably in my profession, I've probably dealt with homelessness more than anybody, and that's not a good thing. But just as my role as fire marshal, I've seen where some of these folks are living, and by choice, and properties that I've had to condemn because they just don't, they're not fit to live in, but they're having to live there. And at first, maybe 5-6 years ago, you saw the same couple homeless folks. And now it's consistently, you're seeing people that, like yesterday, we was dealing with folks that I've never seen before here in Georgetown. So the problem is growing. I don't think in 2 years, I think that once this position gets established, that we're going to be able to get away from it. Because as we continue to grow, we're still going to continue to always have these problems. And as affluent as we are in this county, the problem is that we have such I'm trying to think the right way to say it. Rent is so high right now, and then you get people that are buying up all these properties. As soon as they hit the market, people buy them. The places we used to have starter homes turning now into investment properties, then rent gets outrageous. Your folks that are working at these lower wage places, they can't even afford to live here. So I'm just a big advocate for it. I think it's something that we need. I understand the concerns about adding additional people, but I think this is going to pay dividends for our community.
With that said, are there any other questions or comments?
I'd just like to say, I'm not unfeeling. I feel for the people that are struggling in these issues. And we've put in well over $1 million into social service programs in the budget, which I'm in support of. It's just the long-term ramifications of adding positions concerns me. So that's
And Alvin, you and I have spoke, and what I greatly appreciate about what you bring to our court is that I and always wanting to make sure we're not putting ourselves in a position that we're we're stretched out. And you're on the budget committee, and you're very valuable to our community in that what you bring. And the beautiful thing about what this court, the great thing I think is that sometimes we agree to disagree, but we continue to work for our community, and that's unique in organizations. And we don't always agree, but we continue to work together. So I appreciate your perspective.
Judge, so a vote yes would be to put this into the budget. A vote no is not to put it in the budget. We still have to have interlocal agreements, which some of this stuff can get ironed out, I believe, in the interlocal.
A vote yes would to be approve entering into a interlocal agreement. The next vote, when we consider the budget, I mean,
Okay.
but by doing this, I would hope that we'd all be agreeing that we're giving a thumbs up on the budget as well.
So we would vote to go forward with an interlocal. We'll vote to put it in the budget, but we'll also have to vote to accept the interlocal
Yeah.
after it's written. So there's 3 opportunities to, I hope people don't go back and forth, but.
Yeah. Now, here's one thing that I want to add. You know, Candace mentioned that, you know, this rapid rehousing fund is about to open any day, and the windows on these are not very long. I would venture, if we approve this, whatever way it goes, that the city, I believe, is going to consider this Monday night, for sure. But I would move that we go ahead and post this position, ask the city to post it, and try to move forward and not wait till July 1 because of the timing of grants and availability. Yeah, we'd have to pay maybe if we put somebody on payroll in the middle of June, and that would be the fastest that could happen. But if you wait till July 1 to post it, it'll be August 1. Anybody disagree?
Well,
If we're going to spend money, let's give them the best chance to go get money.
then we would have to, we're going to have to accelerate the interlocal agreement then. I think it needs to be in place before
No, I agree.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't. Maybe we could approve the interlocal agreement the next meeting, if possible. I'm just, if they approve on Monday night, then I don't see anything wrong with posting a position, because I think if we're going to spend money, let's give them the best chance to be able to go compete for grant funds.
So here's my question, just to have clarity. If we agree it's a 2-year pilot program, would it come back to court 2 years and then we vote to
It'll be in the budget in 2 years again.
Okay.
And
So then we can look at whatever metrics,
Yeah,
whether
but-
they've got housing in Georgetown or how much
Right.
money they've raised in grants, and
Right.
take a look at what they've done.
and the people they've worked with, the outcomes of those people, how many people they've helped find housing, all those metrics that were listed.
I'm hopeful that you see a benefit to the budget eventually, not only with grant writing, but, you know, the less homeless issues you have in the community, the more affluent and more better off all of your businesses are, all your, you know, property values, all those things.
Potentially less crime,
Right. I
less
mean,
drug
there's
use.
Such a benefit to
Potentially.
reducing it.
There's a real pressure put on our services by that as well. All right, any other questions or comments? Rick Hostetler.
I think Mr. Thompson said this, and Alvin's alluded to it. If we create this one position, to me, it won't be long and they'll need help, especially to do all of the things that you described, going after all that. It seems to me like. So that's where I'm stuck at. I see it growing pretty quick. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Maybe one person can get in there and do a lot, and I'm sure they can. But it's also, this is a big ask, and I can see where it's a big job, and I can also see where it's needed. But
There'd be an opportunity though for them, if they want help, get your grant writing going and find that money there.
that's a way to look at it.
And I think also that my expectations would be that the nonprofits that we're providing money to would also assist whoever is in this position in completing tasks and doing things, because they're going to want to be able to help with food, shelter, clothing. And so to help that person, I have an expectation that they step up to the table to help with the tasks as well.
Tim Thompson.
this is a city problem, but I just want to make sure that everybody realizes that I've seen this every corner of our county where folks are dealing with this kind of stuff. And again, you mentioned it, Judge, is where, we see the folks that are walking down the street, and you kind of assume that they're homeless or struggling with certain things, but there are so many people that we've dealt with and we've worked with that are couch surfing. It's unstable housing. They don't necessarily know where they're going to go this week to next week, and
I appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? We need a roll call, or we want to just do a vote?
Motion.
Yeah. Motion from Dwayne Ellison.
second.
Second from Tim Thompson. Any other questions or comments? Stacy, we just do the roll call.
Mr. Hostetler,
Judge, I'm a no.
Mr. Lyons,
No.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Corman,
Yes.
Mr. Ellison,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Judge Covington.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you all. We'll move on now to Resolution 2205 Road Aid Agreement. Rand Marshall has that.
This is Resolution 22-05, resolution adopting, approving the execution of a county road aid co-op program contract between the Fiscal Court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and Department of Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022, as provided in the Kentucky Revised Statutes, and accepting all roads and streets referred to therein as being a part of the county road system. Be it resolved by the Fiscal Court that the Fiscal Court does hereby accept all roads and streets referred to in said contract as being a part of the county road system. The Fiscal Court does hereby ratify and adopt all statements, representations, warranties, covenants, and agreements contained in said contract, and does hereby accept said contract, and by such acceptance agrees to all the terms and conditions therein stated. And the county judge executive of the county is hereby authorized and directed to sign said contract as set forth on behalf of the Fiscal Court of Scott County. The county clerk of Scott County is hereby authorized and directed to certify thereto.
What questions or comments are there? Motion from Mr. Lyons, second from Chad Wallace. Any other question or comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we come to number 11, Ordinance 2204, Budget 2223, first reading. Let me express my sincere appreciation to Alvin and Chad and David's also worked in and out throughout this whole process with the Budget Committee, and then my sincere appreciation to the whole court for input and discussion and consideration, and then our department heads, our constitutional officers, their work to put this together. This is a heavy lift. This is done always by this court in a physically responsible manner, trying to meet the needs of the community now and meet the needs of the community in the future. And while the whole time doing that in a physically responsible manner. So my appreciation is sincere, and I appreciate your work and efforts and consideration on all of this. The budget reflects, in my mind, the number one question is, how do we support our employees? That's our number one resource. The budget reflects a 4% raise for all employees. That additional cost for wages and benefits is $1.355,562. That increase. That represents 51.1% of our total budget. Now I would be remiss without reminding everyone that for the last 5 years, we have not passed on any additional costs for benefits to our employees. And our employee package of benefits is very good. So that makes me proud that we support our employees this way. If you look back and consider the compensation study and the benefits and the adjustments that we made, and then you couple that with this, I think we're continuing to support our employees, and they're our most important resource that we have to serve our community. Next item that I want to mention is continued support for Stamping Ground in Sadieville with monies reflected from 1% of the net profits and occupational tax proceeds. Both of those communities will realize about $188,000 from this budget, and my intent is to continue to support those areas. And I always have conversations. That's something that's always on Alvin's mind, supporting that area of his district. Often have conversations there, and all of us do. This budget reflects our support for county roads and our road department that's constantly serving our community. Road materials is over $1.3 million in this budget. There's 2 dump trucks, 2 salt spreaders, and a backhoe to help with additional equipment. JR's still waiting on a brush truck that we ordered last year from this budget that's been paid for. This budget reflects salt replacement as well, and I'm proud of the support for the road department. This budget supports our law enforcement, sheriff's department. This budget will allocate 10 new service vehicles for staff to make sure our staff have the equipment that they need to do their job. There's a $1 million placeholder for a new sheriff's office and county clerk's annex that will allow for training for the sheriff's office to be able to do their work in a manner that's most efficient and moving them forward to serve the needs of the community into the future. Our fire department, this budget reflects $2.2 million in new apparatus, a new ladder truck to replace a 1999 ladder truck, and then a new engine as well. It also has monies for improvements at Station 1, the parking lot, for the training area as well, and then also inside the bays, recoating floors and such in the bays. This budget reflects for our EMA or EMS a new chassis for a new ambulance, $1 million for a new station as a placeholder, and then support for our new paramedic certification program. With the situation that we have, this court supporting growing our own and helping our workforce and giving opportunities to our people, I think this is money well spent. And I believe that the fruits of this work will give us a pool of candidates to help take care of our community going forward. This budget reflects in EMA the potential for purchase of 2 tornado shelters. These shelters are approximately 64 by 15 feet, will hold 100 people. Our intent, after speaking with landowners directly in Stamping Ground and off of Lyle Road, both the landowners that I spoke to are willing to consider working and collaborating with the court. We're very, very interested in this, and I think it's just a move in the right direction. If you look at what happened in Mayfield, Kentucky, they saw that coming, and some of those folks had no place to go. And, timing's everything on warning for storms, but, by this court supporting, trying to provide a shelter for those people that don't have shelter, I think we're doing our due diligence. One would be located there in Stamping Ground. I've talked with the owner of the trailer park there, and they're willing to discuss a placement there. This would be open to anyone, and the other one would be off of Lyle Road there by the trailer park as well. I'm excited about that. This budget also reflects, now, let me make a point there. This expenditure is not inside the EMA budget because we're not asking the city to split it. This is a county venture. It does have a new siren placement out towards the airport area. It gives us an additional siren that serves that east end of the community. Moving on forward with items, I'm very proud that this budget reflects support for a new solid waste voucher program, a partnership with the city and with Rumpke at the transfer station. This voucher program will provide 4 times a year opportunities for any household in the county to get rid of debris and trash for a pickup truck load or a 8-foot trailer load 4 times a year. It's a service that will help our county stay clean as well. This budget reflects continued support of the Soil Conservation Board in the amount of $200,000. And then I'm very proud that this budget reflects support for capital requests for our nonprofits in the amount of over $1 million. There are questions still and details that have to be worked out with those requests. Once we go through and work out those details with the requests, then we'll come back to the court to finalize those type of requests. But the budget has a placeholder with over $1 million to support those requests and help service our community, and those nonprofits help serve our community. And lastly, that I've mentioned the sheriff's office and the county clerk's annex and the EMS station. Also, this budget will finish out the Lyle Road Soccer Complex and put it, in much better shape than it was. It'll provide restrooms and facilities, and then 4 new fields that will be very nice for our in a parking lot, very nice for our community to use. I'm proud of the work that's been done. I open the floor for any discussion or comment.
Make a motion for approval or?
A motion from Dr. Wallace.
Yeah, let me
haven't
read
read
it.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I was
We'd be-
excited. You got me.
I mean, we have worked a lot on this, and I'm proud of the work because I think it really addresses a lot of needs now and a lot of needs in the future, and it's done in a physically responsible way.
Judge, when you say there's been a lot of work put in this, I don't know that people actually understand how much work goes into it. I mean, with Michelle and Jeff and Kara and yourself and all the department heads, I mean, there's probably, you start combining everyone, there's 250 hours put into developing the budget of person hours, coming together, and then, we're meeting once or twice a week, whether by Zoom or in person, to discuss it as a committee. And so it's not a lightly taken issue. And there's a lot of debate. And then the debate comes over into this morning's meeting. It's all friendly and it's all in the right place and the right questions. But people just, the budget's not a flippant thing. It's not just we roll over from last year and throw a little extra money at it. It's a very serious topic of conversation when we go through it.
And I'm so glad you did what you just did, because those were the people I should have think first. And
department heads.
And I mentioned department heads, but Michelle, the hours that Michelle and Jeff and Stacy, the lady sitting right, Stacy's always the one that tells us, this is where we're at now. And we look at exactly where we're at now, and then we make our best estimate of where we should be next year. So Stacy's a huge part of this as well, but the hours of Stacy and then the team, just all, there's hundreds of hours, and every line is gone through, and there's a critical eye on every line, and nothing is just passed. So Stacy, Michelle, Jeff, Kara, Jared, appreciate your all's efforts. I want to give them a hand too. So,
Michelle's speech?
forgive me for not remembering that. So with that said, Rand, will you read the summary?
Yes, sir. This is ordinance 22-04, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and appropriations. Be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Scott County, Kentucky, the following budget for the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 in the amount stated are appropriated for the purposes indicated. General Fund, General Government, $10,062,303. Protection of Persons and Property, $13,178,959. General Health and Sanitation, $972,804. Social Services, $1,654,273. Recreation and Culture, $2,056,649. Airport Operations, $80,000. Capital Projects, $4,419,658. Administration, $12,722,128. Total General Fund, $45,146,773. Road Fund, roads, $3,216,075. Capital Projects, $100,000. Administration, $1,297,895. Total Road Fund, $4,613,970. Jail Fund, Protection of Persons and Property, $2,722,371. Social Services, $325,000. Administration, $1,580,388. Total Jail Fund, $4,627,759. LGEA Fund, Roads, $200,000, which is the total fund. County Clerk Storage Fund, General Government, $175,100, which is the total fund. McCracken Fund, Social Services, $2,000, which is the total fund. Hospital Trust Fund, Social Services, $2,000, which is the total fund. Total budget appropriations. Total General Fund, $45,146,773. Total Road Fund, $4,613,970. Total Jail Fund, $4,627,759. Total LGEA Fund, $200,000. Total Clerk Storage Fund, $175,100. Total McCracken Fund, $2,000. Total Hospital Trust Fund, $2,000. Grand total, all funds, $54,767,602.
And let me, one other thing that I want to mention that I didn't mention was our support for Parks and Rec, and that quality of life piece for our community. Between this year's budget and next year's budget, we're contributing over $750,000 alone for support of repairs there at the pavilion that are required, and then we have support for that program in the amount of about $600,000 on capital, and then they're also in their operating and personnel expenses in amount of, I think, $1,255,000. And then what you don't see in the budget is because the work of this court is $3.1 million that is coming from the NTIA grant that we worked so hard to get for this community, that's not coming out of this general fund. $3.1 million to help make sure over 5,000 homes get broadband. And from my communication with Charter Spectrum, they're going to start construction here in June, and they're still saying that they will meet their deadline of 24 months. So I'm excited about that. So, that piece is not in this budget, but it's an important aspect for our community of all the things that we're getting done. So I will stop speaking, and is there a motion? Motion. Second. David. Any questions or comments?
Just real quick comment. I appreciate you all. I wasn't part of the budget process, but I've reached out to you all and made a lot of asks. And I've learned too on this side of it, it's easier for me in my other job to ask the leadership for everything. On this side now, I'm seeing how hard you have to balance everything out. So I appreciate the work that was put into it, and just listening whenever I've called and asked for different questions and stuff. So, but I appreciate that.
Try to be very responsive and transparent in the whole process, and I feel like that process is. And it's a voice from the court, not just one person or a couple people. So any other question or comment? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion passes. Thank you. That's the first reading. We will come back on Thursday, our next business meeting, Thursday night at 7, and do a second reading of that budget ordinance. From here, we will take this document and we'll take it to DLG. DLG, the Department of Local Government, will review the document and then give us the thumbs up from there, so everybody understands the process. Anything you'd like to add to that, Miss or Michelle? That's correct, isn't it? All right. Annual Standing Order number 12. Rand, if you would read.
Okay, I'm skipping all that, right?
Yeah, just that top piece.
Yeah. Annual standing order to approve certain recurring expenses pursuant to KR 68-275 sub 3. The fiscal court may adopt an order to pre-approve the payment of monthly payroll and utility expenses. No other expenses shall be pre-approved pursuant to the subsection without the written consent of the state local finance officer. Fiscal Court of Scott County, in accordance with state law, hereby orders recurring expenses for utilities, including telephones and salaries, be paid when due. It is hereby acknowledged that the above standing order shall expire after July 1st of each fiscal year, and no more payments designated in the standing order shall be pre-approved unless a new order is adopted by the Fiscal Court of Scott County according to the provisions of KRS 68.275 sub 3.
Any questions or comments? Motion from Rick Hostetler, second from Alvin Lyons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is number 13, ordinance 22-05, homestead parking, and it's related just to specific streets, requests from their HOA.
Yeah.
Magistrate Wallace, you work so closely with HOAs in your district. Could you share on this?
Yeah, so the Homestead HOA reached out to me. What they want to do is put a sign at the beginning of Homestead subdivision that said that there's one-sided parking. That was originally in their HOA restrictions and their deed restrictions. Before it was turned over to the county, the developer never put the signage in to designate that. So they want to put a sign at the front saying that there's one-sided parking. I talked to Rand about that. Rand thought it was best that we, by ordinance, designate what streets have one-sided parking so that we're acting in a legal way for the signage that they're going to put in the front of the neighborhood.
Now, let me ask you, Chad, because the way I've got it, maybe I've got it wrong. You know, there's no parking on these streets listed. Is that correct?
It should be one-sided parking on there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can change it, and that's
Yeah.
no big deal, but I'm wondering, so it should say something like there shall be parking on only one designated side of the
Yes.
following streets?
That's correct.
Okay.
Isn't that always just the right side, Joe? So,
Depends on which way you're going.
Bear with me just a second. There should be.
Are these streets, were they in the HOA, were they spelled out already in the HOA?
They were already spelled out in the HOA.
So we're not picking and choosing, they were already spelled out?
When the prior fiscal court adopted them into the county system, they should have required them to put signage, and now they're county roads, and they
Yeah.
want to enforce the restrictions on it.
And it's not, I mean, it's not just because it's in the deed or in the HOA restrictions, it's a safety issue for fire trucks and,
And snowplows.
yeah.
So there shall be parking on the designated side only on the following streets
That's
located in,
correct.
okay.
Yeah.
JR, will you help with signage on that? Yes, sir. Thank you. Rand, will you read the proposed ordinance?
Yes, sir. This is ordinance 22-05, an ordinance prohibiting parking on certain streets. Let's see, let's make that on the side of certain streets. In the Homestead subdivision, whereas some citizens of the Homestead have requested that the Scott County Fiscal Court prohibit parking on the side of some streets in the subdivision, whereas the court has considered their request and find that it is in the best interest of the citizens that reside in the subdivision to prohibit said parking, now therefore be it ordained by the Scott County Fiscal Court as follows. There shall be parking on the designated side only on the following streets located in Homestead subdivision: Homestead Parkway, Shannon Lane, Shannon Court, Devon Lane, Devon Court, Casey Lane, Casey Court, Joshua Lane, Joshua Court, Thomas Lane, Hart Court, Haney Court, Prater Drive, Raccoon Run, Lost Tree Drive, Blowing Tree Drive, and Windsong Way. 2, appropriate signage shall be erected which prohibits parking on these streets. 3, well, I'm going to change it, which prohibits parking on the designated side of these streets. 3, this ordinance may be enforced by the Scott County Sheriff or any other law enforcement having jurisdiction. 4, violations of this ordinance shall be punishable by a $10 fine. 5, the ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication is required by law. Stacey, I'll make those changes and send you a new version.
Should there be a reference to the HOA restrictions, and not just requested by the citizens, but also refer back to the restrictions that were in place originally? Or that, I'm assuming they're still in place.
Yeah.
So that when people look at it in the future, they know it wasn't just two people that said, hey, we want to stop parking on one side, but that it's actually in the restrictions. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I can add a second whereas restricted parking has already been established by the restrictions of the homeowner association.
Okay.
Okay, so that'll be the second whereas.
Now, that's going to be more than just one sign. That's going to be multiple signs.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to put a sign. It's not like you just come into the neighborhood and get one sign. It's going to be a lot more than that.
Per street, there'll be one. JR?
Wasn't that at the beginning of going into Homestead Parkway, one sign?
That's what he said.
Yeah, but
If you're saying that you're going to designate all those, you're going to have to put a sign on.
Yeah, I think every one.
It's typically every 200 feet or I don't even know on the map.
The HOA is in agreement to put signs out on the designated side of the street.
Yeah, there's plenty of no parking signs.
I mean, that's what they're taking HOA dues for, stuff like that. Maybe you're off the hook.
JR, do you have any concerns about that?
We'll try to come down and do it, however
All right.
we need to.
It'd be nice if the HOAs, take care of it.
Yeah. Well, they've been enforcing it all along, but because it's county roads, Rand thought it was best that we pass this ordinance to make sure that it's
I think they have the authority at
legal.
this point.
They have told me that they would be willing to.
All right. There's the reading ordinance. Yeah, what questions or comments does anyone else have? Motion to approve, is there any? A motion? Motion from Chad Wallace, second from David Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move to number 14, Detention Center Updated SOP Manual. Captain Humphrey, if you'll address the court, how are you today?
We're fine.
We have emailed back and forth since Tuesday. There's been, quite a bit of discussion between Jailer Broyles and the court, questions and answers. the one topic that essentially we'll have to come back and amend the SOPs after everybody's agreed that after the court amends its administrative handbook in July, we'll come back and incorporate those amendments there.
I believe the jailer told me you all were planning on re-adding it as an appendix to our current SOPs, whatever you all come up with on your personnel side.
We'll amend it accordingly. Mr. Modenrack's been working on that with a group of people. There's clarification been made about the daily duty uniform and the duty belt. The duty belt includes a handgun, as I see you're carrying today.
I
am. So that's, the responsibilities have been clarified there. In the discussion since Tuesday has been about the intake questionnaire and about the addition of questions about is the individual that is being took into the facility, are they battling anything related to addiction, alcohol or drugs? And then the discussion kind of went back and forth about how do you navigate incorporating support from the Shepherd's House IOP program of coming into the jail like they do in the Danville-Bull County Jail, doing a pre-screening, then if that pre-screening met the needs for an assessment, then an assessment being done, and then offering that individual counseling or possibly whatever treatment might be appropriate.
Right. Referral
or whatever.
On-site, whatever.
Right. And last night, through those emails, you could tell, I think eventually we can get to where we hopefully can accommodate that need. In my mind, it's a true need. But at this point, there's quite a bit that still needs to be kind of hammered out and put everybody around the table and get it done. So with that said, I've mentioned all that was on my list of concerns. I did not get a final answer from Jailer Broyles about a couple questions about moving forward, but I'm confident that we can find a place to move forward.
Your Honor, I would suggest that the jailer is not trying to be obstructionist regarding your all's ideas. I think the ideas are pretty good from what I've seen. But he's a big picture kind of guy, but he's also a nuts and bolts kind of guy. He just wants to understand the process and wants to understand exactly what's being asked of us, make sure that we're doing everything that we can do and everything that is appropriate. Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to, understanding the process.
And this screening and assessment would be at no additional cost to taxpayers. It's part of what they want to do and they're willing to do. Rick Hosteller has a question.
Go ahead,
Captain. Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, you were going to speak. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I was going to go with it, so that's fine.
Well, maybe I can help you. I did speak briefly, it was really brief, with Jailer Broyles about the topic with Shepherd's House. And I mentioned to him, and I hope I said the right county, but they're already operating in, Shepherd's House has already operated in Boyle County. Isn't that correct?
Shepherd's House operates in Boyle County.
Right. Shepherd's
House runs the state substance abuse program for the Grant County Jail.
I didn't mention that.
So my goal is to have them do these assessments, and then if an individual's battling addiction and they need continuum of care treatment, then at that point those professionals would make recommendations, and it might be a recommendation it would most likely be a recommendation to the judge in collaboration with the county attorney, public defender. The judge is the ultimate authority and decision maker of where that person's placement is. So I do not want for any second for our judicial representatives to think we're trying to tell them what to do. All we're trying to do is give a tool for help, and there's a lot of people that need that help. Whether it be an IOP, intense outpatient program, or the in-house state substance abuse program, that's ran in the Grant County Jail. David Livingston.
And I think it's important, if I understand correctly, this does not cause any additional financial
Zero.
requirement from the county.
Zero.
Yeah, so that's what I want to comment on. I did have a brief conversation, it was nowhere near that extensive with the jailer, but I brought up to him the point that the Shepherd's House is already operating in the same arena in another county. I didn't bring up Grant, but I brought up Boyle County. And of course, I've been involved in this since my first year on the court, working with Isaiah House, Shepherd's House. I've been an advocate to get this done, but my point is, I did have a conversation with the jailer, and I saw in his comments, all that thread, that he's willing to, sit down and learn this process, and the Shepherd's House will be able to help in that tremendously, because we've already sat down with them recently about what that program looks like. It was educational just the most recent time, and I've been in several of those meetings, so I think it's all positive, and I was glad to see the jailer's response there. But in a brief conversation, I just told him, I said, look, the Shepherd's House can fill in some of these gaps in what they're doing, and then we got to figure out how that works here, of course, and I think he's willing to do that. So,
okay. Questions or comments down here?
Make a motion.
We have a motion on the floor to accept SOPs as presented, but I would like the record to reflect that it is the desire of the judge that we amend the SOPs once we hammer out the remaining information.
I would agree with that if it needs to be in the motion. And
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Tim. One other. Also, you're kind of in need of this because you've got an inspection coming up. Is that correct? I thought
We have an inspection the 26th.
And which you kind of need this documentation in place and approved, right?
It checks the box.
It checks my box, that's correct.
Yeah. Yes.
It checks that particular
I
box.
thought you had told us that before, so.
I'll second.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any other questions or comments? And I think Tim Thompson has one.
Just quick comment. I think this just ties into what we talked about earlier, about the homelessness issue and other things that, not everybody that's homeless has a drug problem, but there are people that have addictions that then end up homeless. So I think this just all ties in together. So
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Any other questions or comments?
I was just going to say regarding some of the screening, and we might even consider, should you all get the homeless piece of the puzzle into it, you'd be surprised, or probably you wouldn't be surprised how many people come through that are homeless through the jail. So that'd be another place, another way we could probably send somebody to the appropriate resource.
Some coordination.
Yes.
I appreciate that, Captain Humphrey. I really do. We have a motion. We have a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. You can check the box.
Okay, we appreciate it, John.
All right. Animal control hire and promotion. Nathan, how are you? Nathan, springtime, our animal and pet friends are out a little bit more in the spring, aren't they?
We've been pretty busy.
I bet you have.
Yeah.
We appreciate the job y'all do out there.
Thank you. We appreciate your support. This morning, we're pleased to recommend the promotion of Steve-Anna Blackburn from animal care technician to animal control officer. This will be effective tomorrow, May 14th. Her pay rate would be $15 an hour, and she's been working with us for about a year. This will replace an animal control position that recently became open. We had someone leave. This will leave us with one position open, and that will be the animal care technician.
Any questions or comments? Motion from Alvin, second from David Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Can I ask a quick question? Yeah. So watching the neighborhood pages, on a lot of those neighborhood pages that people take a picture of dogs that are out or something like that. And I've noticed that your folks I've noticed one the other day specifically from Sherry for Bradford Place. And I don't know, how do you all, is it a scenario where somebody calls in and then you potentially go to that neighborhood page to see what's out there while the control officer is on their way, or how does that work? Because I think it's a great tool because there was a response almost immediately to let people know, hey, we're on our way, because it was a dog that was not being very kind.
Yeah. Well, what had happened is I think someone had reached out and sent us a message just letting us know that it was on there. And it is a great tool. We use social media for, to track down owners, to track down animals that we're looking for. And, but to answer your question, yeah, someone had reached out, and the page they had put on there that where the animal lived. So by that we were able to find where the owner was to get the dog quarantined because there was a bite incident. So yeah, it was a great tool. We do try to use the social media platforms to stay in contact with people. And if there is an aggressive animal that's out and it's in the area, there are some neighborhood groups that we are on, and we will kind of give people an update to be like, hey, there's an animal out. So just be aware.
Well, it's
Good stuff.
a great job, yeah.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it, and we try to stay on top of it.
Any other questions or comments down here? Thank you so much. EMS hires and status change. Chris Runyon.
Morning, Judge, Magistrates. I'd like to recommend this morning that we be able to transition 2 of our part-time EMTs to full-time status, Serena Fuller and Sierra Osterhage. Both those individuals have been working part-time with us since February. We'd like to transition them. Serena would be able to start Monday, the 16th. Sierra would be later in the month, the 27th, I think, of May. Would be her 28th of May would be her first full-time date. Both would start at a rate of $11.99 an hour as full-time EMTs with us.
Questions or comments? Motion, Rick Hostetler. Is there a second? Alvin Lyons. You beat Kelly. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Road Department new hire. J.R. Brandenburg.
Good morning. Jeff Mudreck and myself interviewed several candidates over the last couple of weeks, and we have chosen Mason Mulholland, who is filling a retiree position of $16.80 per hour with benefits.
Okay. And this is equipment operator.
Yes, equipment operator
And he has
labor, I'm sorry.
extensive background as well.
Yes, he's got basically 15 years of related experience.
Okay. Questions or comments? Motion, Kelly Corman. Is that a second from Dwayne Ellison? Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. JR, will you go over and answer any questions related to the bid result for the resurfacing of various county roads?
Yes, sir.
One quick question before you do that, Garrett. What does that do to your staffing levels?
Well, I need the 2 positions you okayed for litter abatement and pickup of trash. We're still working on filling those.
We have still those 2.
Yeah.
All right. No.
We took bids for labor of putting the asphalt down. We had one bid, Hamilton Hinkle. It is $25.25 per ton, putting it down. Tack oil is $3.60 per gallon. The labor went up by about $2.40 per ton, so just one and only bid.
Questions, comments about that?
Motion for approval.
Motion from Chad Wallace. Is there a second? Second, Dwayne Ellison. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes to accept those bids for road resurfacing. JR, thank you. Library board appointment. Library board sent us 2, well, actually, the governor sent us 2 names that had been recommended to him by the library board, and those 2 names were William Riley and Michaela Williams. I believe, does anyone have any input from looking at their references and their resume comments?
I personally do not know either one of these folks, but I have reached out and I've talked with Miss Williams, and I'd like to recommend her.
Motion to recommend Ms. Williams, second from Tim Thompson. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Friends of the Park Board. This is a voluntold position. We need a representative on the Friends of the Park Board from the court, and Tim Thompson has agreed to step in there. Any questions or comments or suggestions for Tim? Motion from Alvin Lyons, second from David Livingston. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? A third. With that said, Mr. Thompson will fill that role. Now, this county city agreement, Ruppke vouchers. I'd like to ask Jared to speak on behalf of the court and share. Jared, Jared's done a lot of work, groundwork, working with Bluegrass Ad to get the background of how the vouchers will actually be kept up with. Jared,
there'll be a program that'll be on our website. A citizen will go put an email in. If they don't have an email, they'll call the office and we'll assign them a number. They'll be eligible for 4 dumps a year out there. Rumpke. Rumpke's approved this agreement, so we're very excited about it. It's got a cap. It is a pilot program. We're going to cap it at $100,000. We'll monitor that, and we'll keep you up to speed probably monthly. So,
and I negotiated $43.50 per ton over the course of the year. That's a good reduction. Rumpke's being a very good partner to do this, and this will hopefully keep people from going out and dumping on the side of roads, and JR has to clean it up quite often. Our colleagues in the city have areas that they have to clean up, and it's not a magic wand, but it gives people an option. If they're out cleaning out a house, cleaning out a garage, they can throw as much as they can in that pickup truck bed or that 8-foot trailer, and they can take it to Rumpke at no expense to them.
Once a day after 4 times a year.
Yes, sir.
And when do you think it's going to launch on the website?
We'll try to have it ready July 1.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Jared, if we win, I guess, when our jailers start going out and cleaning up, will they be able to use this process in some way?
you will work something out. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good catch right there, Mr. Ellison. With that said,
He sounded surprised.
is there
Should Rand review?
I've looked at it, I didn't see any issue with it,
Yeah, he reviewed it already. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I've got, Judge, I want to say thanks for you pursuing this, and I know I was sat in on some of the meetings with you and Jared with Rumpke, and they've been very accommodating, and I appreciate that. I'm one of the guys, along with you, that has their name on and phone number on a sign at a landfill that we. So I
My name and your name's still there.
And I get those calls, and they want to know where they're going to take their trash, and they want to know when I'm going to reopen the landfill. But I don't even have a key to the landfill. Don't really want one, but anyhow, I'm appreciative of it because I do get those calls, and all I'm been doing is saying here's some options, and I usually give them Rumpke, and I tell them there's a landfill in Franklin County that I'm aware of. So, but this is good for our community. There are a lot of folks that over time will use this once we get it out there, and I think it's a fair price that Rumpke's given the court, and then of course the community will get to use it for 4 times a year. That's pretty good.
We'll make every effort to publicize this on social media. We'll try to do our best to make sure people know what the option is.
And we also should, and I know we've already pushed this out at least once, but we probably ought to continue to do. They offer recycling. You just come out and drop it off for no charge, and they take care of that. So that's another good.
I'm really glad you mentioned that because essentially they are taking over our drop-off recycling at no charge for our community there at West Houston.
They're accepting recycling now. But really after July 1, that'll be our sole drop-off.
Yeah. That'll be our sole option.
And-
But it'll be at no expense to the community, at no expense.
And you're not limited to once a quarter. You're only getting a free drop-off once a quarter.
For the
Trash.
voucher
Yes,
system.
For the voucher system. Any other time, you can still take stuff out
Well,
there.
Jared, help me understand. Is it once a quarter, or they got 4 for the year? They got 4 for the year, and that's all they get.
So not once a
Once
quarter.
a day, but you could go in 4 consecutive days, and then you'd be done.
Okay, thank you.
For the
So,
year, yeah.
For the year. Now, on the drop-off recycling,
Yeah, you can pay to do whatever.
David, on the drop-off recycling, that's every day they're open.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So that's huge. And then the city is, now through their contract, they have curbside recycling. Rumpke already offers recycling independently available for anybody that takes their service out in the county. So,
Scott County Citizen has access to curbside recycling if they choose to.
yes. So I don't know if we got a motion. Motion from
Yeah, we
Rick.
do.
Second from David. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Proud of that one. That's a good one.
Do you want us to go ahead and sign this page, Stace, while we have?
I have it dated. I'll have him sign it later.
Okay.
Do you have to sign it also?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this next item is a correction. And, I work very closely with Ramona with Element. I work very closely with Marilla. Marilla is our contractor management for the project out at Lyle Road for the soccer complex. And I came to the court for approval of a change order for parking lot and common area lighting. However, there was a mistake made, and there was not included in that change order the light pole bases, the concrete, the labor, and all of that to put those pole bases in, which is being done by a local contractor, Younger. They contracted with Marilla through the bid process, and there was a mistake made. So you approved $33,000 for the fixtures, wiring, light poles, and installation of the fixtures, but we mistakenly left off the pole bases. I shared this with you. It's an amount of $12,182 additionally, but what I'm asking you to consider is just a new change order that takes the old change order off the plate, and this is for $45,182 total. Questions or comments? Motion from Dwayne Ellison, second from Alvin Lyons. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Appreciate that. That they're moving along. JR, would you come to the podium, please? In new business, I'm really not going to ask you to approve anything. I'm just trying to be transparent and share. The contract at Lyle Road did not include seeding of the actual fields. It includes hydro seeding of all the common areas, but not the fields, because we really felt like to try to get our best stand of grass and hopefully hold the dirt in this spring, they were going to contract with a local vendor. JR and I have worked our best to get this arranged, but we have not been able to do so. So what happens? JR is going to do it himself. His staff will. JR is going to send someone to Louisville to pick up the recommended seed from Advanced Turf Solutions, and we're going to buy about 90 to 100 bags right now, and those are at $71 a bag. We will come back in the fall, and we will re-overseed all these fields again as well. But what we're trying to do now is, it's graded, it's crowned, but it needs seed to hold it. So that's what we're going to do, and I just wanted to let you know, and this will Stacy and I and Michelle. There's no irrigation, Dwayne, and we're you know, yes,
They've got 2 fields ready to go.
they've only got 2,
Yes.
but and if Dwayne, there's nothing we can do about it, and the plans did not include irrigation on these fields, and you know
You won't need it after, you get it going.
you hope not.
Where you had to straw it too?
There's a water. There is a water
Lift
source,
feeder that
yes,
plants it in a-
and we're putting in a fire hydrant. I mean, JR, is there any way that we could navigate some of that, a little irrigation if we had to?
Possible.
Lately, we wouldn't need it, while all the rain was beginning, but.
I know.
Since you put it down, you go.
But I know it's a calculated risk, but if we don't put something down, it'll be a mess, and we'll have to go back and literally JR went out there and walked it, and they had to go back and do a little bit more tilling and a little bit more grading, but literally just this week they were ready to do that.
I know I've seen that. We don't do that on electrician, but I've seen on these jobs that we do, that a lot of times they're able to use a fire hydrant, adapt it down, run some hoses, run some of those sprinkler guns. Of course, you gotta have pressure. But I don't know how to pay for it. I'm wondering if I'm not in on that part of it. I'm sure somebody's paying for it.
Where's
a
it-
way to meter it, I guess.
Where would the nearest fire hydrant be now? At the school?
Probably.
Yeah. Still along quite a piece.
There's one by the shelter, isn't there?
Well, John, you put in a request to install the fire hydrant at Lyle Road. I mean, you put that in, yes.
Up near where the concession restaurant is.
Right, so there'll be a fire hydrant right next to that building.
There's actually one, as you come up there before you make that turn to go back there, there's a hydrant there as well.
So, we can try to navigate it, but I don't know what else we can do.
Hopefully
Community
Mother
might call
Nature.
out to the soccer community, bring your flower plant waterers.
Yeah. So, I'm just sharing that new business. Didn't want to ask for approval. We're going to do it, and you all know what's going on. I'm very happy with, progress is moving along. It's going to be really nice for the community to have that. We're still optimistic about the Legacy Trail TAP grant. It's just like all the things, it just takes time to, I guess, get all that straightened out. But we're still very optimistic about that. I hope I can come back to this court soon saying we've been notified we've received that grant. I want to make sure I don't have anything else for new business. JR, thank you. And as always, JR, he doesn't know how to say no. Other duties as assigned. Is there any other new business that anybody else would like to consider?
Judge, can we go in executive session to discuss the future acquisition or sale of real property, about a piece of property that...
A potential site?
Yeah.
Chad and I have discussed, and Chad would like to discuss this with the court. I think it's something of good consideration. We can do this out of new business. Is there a motion? So that's a motion.
That's a motion.
Is there a second? Second from Dave.
Can you read the KRS?
61.810.
Anything else?
It's a acquisition of property.
So with that said, we have a motion, second from David. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will go into.
Yeah.
B, Stacy.
1B? Thank you.
That's everything. You don't know about that yet. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Took a drink.
I've never seen that. I was like, is that hers? I was thinking, is that in front of her?
I just don't feel like it's right to have a Diet Mountain Dew can up here. I don't know why.
What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?
I could pour it in a Yeti or something.
favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're out of closed session. Let the record reflect that there was no action recommended taking. So we will move to any other new business.
What?
Well, we're about heading that way.
Real quickly, so I'm working with folks at Mallard Point on a similar parking issue, so when you get that amended or the draft, I was going to share that with them just as some information. I don't think they're interested in parking on one side, but so I'm going to try to be working with you soon, Rand, on trying to meet their needs and what they want to do as a community.
And there's just more large commercial vehicles.
It is. It is.
Need to be.
I've had a conversation with them just to share it with you, Rand, and Judge and Court. I spent some time out there earlier this week, one evening, and it is the commercial vehicle that they're concerned about, and they have a couple of different sizes. But I also shared that you were going to look into that because that's a pretty broad topic, and in fact, I think David brought that up, which it is.
I found there is a statutory definition of commercial vehicle, and we can use it. It's very detailed, but now it probably would cover the vehicles they're worried about. So,
well, I told them I'd try to get some just information so we could try to put something together that fits that neighborhood. So, but yeah, that would be good to see. And I met with their president, I guess, of the HOA and some others, and so that would be good to start feeding them some information. And I've seen some of the situations, and they are large vehicles, and they could cause a problem in an emergency situation. So, and they're aware of that. So.
All right. Any other new business from anyone? Any new business or questions or comments from anyone in our, go ahead, Chris, in our audience.
I'll be quick. So next week, National EMS Appreciation Week, and so we're kicking that event off with a cookout tomorrow at Brooking Park, shelter number 2. We'd love for any members of the court that are available to drop by. Sorry it's such short notice. We weren't able to organize this or get the hospital's actually sponsoring it for us, so we just kind of found out a few days ago, but did want to pass that in by along. And then just to remind the court.
What time, Chris?
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. 1 to 5. Yeah, and it's a kid-friendly thing. I think they're going to have some bouncy houses and inflatable stuff, so anybody that wants to, any members of the audience.
It's nice of the hospital.
Huh?
It's very nice of the hospital.
Very nice, yeah. They're great partners with us. Then the other thing I just want to remind the court about, the EMT graduation Wednesday night, the 18th, ECS at 6:30. Representative Pratt says he's going to be able to make an appearance, and Representative Stevenson says she cannot, but she's going to issue citations for the students, so it'll be a nice little presentation we can do for them. So I just wanted to pass that
18th at 6. 18th at 6?
6:30.
6:30, I'm sorry.
ECS.
And then, I've shared the striker proposal and shared that with everyone. The timing was very tough, and I did not think it was wise to try to push. But I do not think we need to leave that on, like we need to revisit, look at the specifics, talk about it maybe in our next work session, and then come back to it. As Chris shared, and as I think there's $85,000 in the budget that's part of a maintenance agreement with Stryker for equipment that would come out of that line if we entered into an agreement with them. I need to share this with the city, and Chris and I maybe meet with Andrew and the mayor because that type of agreement. I think we need to have all shareholders at the table to consider it. So I do think it, and the cost with all the AEDs included went to like $338 a year. But the savings went up as well, the estimated savings. But just to remind everybody, this essentially would be paid for with the House Bill 8 fund revenue. Now, that fund revenue is in the budget, but it would be covering that expense. So, any other comments or questions for?
You said 6 o'clock.
6:30.
On the
30,
6:30.
18th, yes, at ECS.
Tomorrow's 1 to 5.
1 to 5 at Brooklyn Park, Shelter 2.
All right. If there's no other questions or comments from the public or anyone in our audience, is there a motion to adjourn? Rick,
Vote Tuesday.
Rick, yes. Rick Costello got us. Kelly with a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Vote Tuesday. Vote today. Vote tomorrow. Yeah, early and often.